Ayurveda is the science of life. The starting point of Ayurveda and modern medicine are very, very different. Modern medicine is a science of disease. The entire focus has been on understanding the pathophysiology and improving the diagnosis and the treatment. Now, the starting platform for Ayurveda is very different. It is a science of life, and it's an indigenous medical system of not only India but the entire Indian subcontinent. It has uninterrupted medical practices. A very conservative estimate would put it to about 5,000 years old. 5,000 years is a long time for a system to have observed how the biological system works. The amount of observations they would have accrued over 5,000 years and the amount of wisdom they would have got, how much they would have learnt. So then you begin to think that Ayurveda must be much more wiser than the system which is about 200 years old. The choice is yours how you want to use this number. It's one of the most systematically documented systems, and it's not an empirical medicine, it's a theory-based system. So since Ayurveda is a science of life, it deals with both health and disease. When it talks of health, it talks about preventive and promotive health. When it talks of disease, it talks about how to cure. People generally presume that Ayurveda's strength is in preventive and promotive health, but the curative aspect is equally strong. Let's see how health is understood in Ayurveda. Ayurveda says health is a complete balance of functioning of tissues, their metabolic end products, senses, mind, consciousness, and social and ecological well-being. Absence of disease alone is not health. WHO, maybe a couple of decades ago, it defined health as absence of disease. But now the definition given by WHO is not a simple absence of disease. It says health is a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. You can not only see the similarity between the two, you can also see that the understanding of health in Ayurveda is much more comprehensive. They are talking about ecological health as well, social and ecological health, and how it impacts health of an individual. In a way, it's not surprising because, I said the starting platform for Ayurveda is different. It started off as understanding health, and then it talks about how things can go wrong and a person can become a patient. So if the treatment given by Ayurveda is different, it's because its diagnosis is different. So there are two classifications in Ayurveda. One is a gross, it's called Sthula Sharira. Then you have a Sukshma Sharira, which is the subtle body. So what you see in a bracket here are the terms in Sanskrit. So structures are dhatus, and system-wise classification is based on srotas. This system-wise classification is not the system-wise classification that we know of in modern medicine. There's a difference. Both these covers the physical aspect. The functional classification covers physiological and psychological. Of course, when you say physiological, implied is the physical aspect as well. And the subtle aspect classification covers the psychological and the domain of consciousness. Ayurveda's major perspective is functional. When we have a system as complicated as a human system, we need to have some way to classify and categorize the system. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult to handle the information. We have seen how modern medicine has classified and categorized the human system. They have done it based on structures. They have grouped together organs which contribute, which are involved in a particular function. Ayurveda has also done a functional classification. They have identified three major functions. These are functions which, according to Ayurveda, are major, right? Movement, metabolism and growth, and in the context of Ayurveda, these are called Vata, Pitta and Kapha. These are terminologies in Sanskrit, the language of Ayurveda. For convenience, I am going to refer to these as V, P and K. Without going into the nitty-gritty details, let me give you all a flavor of what goes on what comes under this classification. So all movements in body and mind comes under Vata. Ayurveda never delinks body and mind. Body and mind is always considered as one cohesive unit, be it in understanding health, be it in understanding disease, be it in handling the patient. Movements, gross movements like this, or a subtle movement here, you can see the movement of the heart and movement of the blood, or something even subtler, you can see the molecules moving in and out of the cell membranes, or something even subtler, movement of thoughts. All movements from gross to subtle comes under Vata. All metabolic processes comes under Pitta. Digestion and transformation of food, or even digestion and transformation of thoughts and emotions. pH and temperature are two defining parameters which comes under Pitta. Let me again reiterate the point that these are taken from classical Ayurvedic texts. It is not my own interpretation. It is just that I am explaining these in English. We know that pH and temperature plays a very important role from modern science point of view as well. pH and temperature play a very major role in metabolism and transformation. Of course, Ayurveda doesn't use the word pH, it uses the word acidity. In case you are wondering what is digestion and transformation of thoughts, let's imagine that 5 people are given the same piece of information. I am sure you all will agree that the reactions will not be the same. It can make somebody sad, it can make somebody angry, it can make somebody moderately happy, it can make somebody very happy, another person can become very caustic and sarcastic. Right? Information is the same. How it is taken in, and if I may use the word, how it is digested and transformed in the brain will define how the person is going to react to the information. So this comes under Pitta, and Kapha deals with physical growth and support. You can see the growth of a fetus here. Kapha is responsible for structural basis, stability and lubrication. There are many more parameters which comes under Vata and Pitta, but I am not giving you all a detailed list. My aim is to just give you all an idea how systematically they have done the classification. So all the psychophysiological functions come under the broad-based category of VPK, and each of which is also subdivided into 5 subtypes. So between these 15 subtypes, all the psychophysiological functions can be covered. So there are no psychophysiological functions which comes outside the purview of this classification. Now, a very notable feature in this functional model adopted by Ayurveda is the absence of hierarchy. So here you see the structural hierarchy. You have atoms, then you have molecules, then you have organelles and so on. Here in this functional model of Ayurveda, it's not that movement comes first and then metabolism and transformation and then growth. All these happen side by side. I have tried to convey this through this picture of Russian nestling dolls. So there are 2 important features of Russian nestling dolls. One is that all these smaller dolls will go into the big one. But what is of relevance to us is that if you use a magnifying lens and look at the smallest doll, however small this doll is, you will see not a single feature of this missed here. All the features that you see here, you can see in the smallest doll. So in the same way, whether you are looking at the system from the viewpoint of cells or tissues or organ systems, these 3 functions Ayurveda considers important: movement, transformation and growth. You will see these at all levels. So if BPK covers only the psychophysiological functions, probably I wouldn't be here giving this talk. Probably I wouldn't have studied Ayurveda at all. And probably Ayurveda wouldn't be a successful clinical medicine. What has made it a pragmatic, successful clinical medicine is the second point here, that BPK also includes biophysical, chemical and physiological parameters. So the kind of parameters that Ayurveda talks about are dryness, fluidity, adhesivity, stiffness, viscosity, size, weight, roughness. You don't have to be a scientist to know that a change in any of these will affect movement. A patient who has had a stent put in would be given blood thinners, right? What would a blood thinner do? It will change the fluidity. So it will make sure that the viscosity of the blood doesn't change and it doesn't become thick, because if it becomes thick, it cannot do its function, that is movement. So the fluidity and the viscosity of the blood is maintained. The other parameters that Ayurveda talks about are pH and temperature. So what the ancient Indians seem to have done is they have identified 3 major functions and grouped under these 3 major functions factors, parameters which impact these functions. And these parameters are all connected. So this is just a small example. So if there is change in dryness, there will be change in movement, temperature, fluidity, heaviness, lubrication, roughness, and many other parameters as well. So in fact, Ayurveda looks at the system as a network of system properties. These are all biophysical properties, and some of them are like pH and temperature. They are chemical and physiological in nature.